welcome to Bible Interact. My name is Dr. George Sparks. We have a really exciting program for you today, and I know you're going to like it. In light of the new Indiana Jones movies coming out, did you ever think that Indiana Jones and some of his episodes were actually events of a real life person? Not just a fantasy, not just a myth. So, what do you think? Yes or no? Well, let's get into this. It has been about 40 years since the first Indiana Jones movie, starring Harrison Ford, playing that swashbuckler archaeologist Indiana Jones in a number of different movies. First of all, in 1981, he played the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Of course, in 1984, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. 89, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then the fourth one was 2007, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I think many fans believe that this would be the last episode, the end of this legacy of the Indiana Jones movies, at least, if you will, with the original cast, because they're getting up there in age. But now it's 2023, and there will soon be another movie of Indiana Jones in the theaters coming near you, and it's entitled The Dial of Destiny. The Dial of Destiny. It sounds interesting. It's always going to be fun, right? So the character of Indiana Jones is played by Harrison Ford, but who was Indiana Jones and his adventures really based on? Is it strictly a fantasy, you might think, or was it a real individual in history and archaeology that the character was created? Well, maybe. Today we will look at an individual who could well be the personality and the persona which George Lucas based this popular movie series from. Who is this individual? My guess would be Roy Chapman Andrews. Now you're probably thinking, well, who is he? Well, he passed away a long time ago, more than a generation. Roy Chapman Andrews was born 26th of January, 1884. He was an American explorer and adventurer, also a naturalist, who became the director of the National American Museum of Natural History. It was during the early 20th century that Roy Chapman Andrews led a series of expeditions through China into the hostile Gobi Desert and also into Mongolia. The expedition made important discoveries and brought the first fossils of dinosaur eggs back to the Museum of Natural History. It's because of the cavalier demeanor along with the swashbuckler attire, in addition to his discoveries and popular writings about his adventures, that made him so very popular years ago. Andrews stated this about himself: I was born to be an explorer. There was no doubt in my mind. No decision needed to be made. I couldn't do anything else. Roy used the money that he earned to fund his education at Beloit College. Roy started off his early career at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Guess what? As the janitor. Over time, he was able to acquire a master's degree in mammalogy. You say it, mammalogy. What is that word? Well, anyway, it's the study of mammals, and was able to actually advance his position in the museum. It was in 1908 that Andrews was able and was given the opportunity to travel. Well, what was he going to do? Well, his task at hand was to study, of all things, whales. In 8 years, Roy circled the globe twice circling the globe, and guess what? The whales that they sent out to find eluded them. But when he returned back to the Museum of Natural History, Roy was actually examining the content of crates, which were still in storage, years in storage. To his surprise, he found a skeleton of a whale in the museum's collection. Now, how in the world can you hide the skeleton of a whale? Andrews' adventures led him to several near-death experiences that were chronicled in his book titled On the Trail of Ancient Man. Roy had a resilience towards these affairs of death. He seemed to overcome them and get back to business quickly. His first 5 years of field work, he stated, I can remember just 10 times when I narrowly escaped from death. A number of his little episodes where he escaped. First was when his boat was being charged or attacked by a wounded whale. Kind of like a Moby Dick scene there, wasn't it? Next, there's 2 times where he was caught in a typhoon and nearly drowned. There's another time where Roy Chapman Andrews, of course, and his wife were nearly eaten by wild dogs. There was also a time when he says we were in danger of a predicament caused by fanatical Lama priest. What a Lama priest? You think, what can they do? But anyway. Also, there was 2 times where he fell off a cliff. I don't know if that's even being harassed by fanatical Lama priest, but why would you fall off a cliff? Bad eyesight or way too much to drink? Let's be honest here, but we'll keep on going. I was almost caught, he says, I was almost caught by a python that was pursuing me. All right, I was twice challenged and almost killed by local bandits. This one's interesting. Andrew's caravan of cars and camels were traveling across the rugged terrain when Andrew spotted a number of bandits waiting for them. They were all on horseback, plus they were armed with pistols and rifles. The caravan could not turn around, and if they succumbed to the bandits, they would lose their fossils along with the camels and cars and the food supply. This was not an option for Andrew, so he pulled out his pistol and drove directly at the bandits. This is directly out of an Indiana Jones movie, wouldn't it be? With his caravan at top speed. The sounds of the automotives plus the shots of the pistol scared the horses that the bandits were riding on. They were bolted off, and the bandits were thrown to the ground. The remainder that were on their horses went running off. However, as fate would have it, one might say that they drove past the flames and made camp in the fire. Why? Because later that night, their entire campsite became infested with poisonous, deadly, slithering serpents. They were camped on the top of a nest of a venomous pit of vipers. Somebody said, I hate snakes. Later that evening, after the team had already killed over 47 venomous vipers, Andrews was tired and he was going to his tent to relax. While reclining on his mattress, he felt a long, soft, round object under his covers. Roy went leaping up, screaming out of his tent. When help arrived, they found a coiled rope under the covers of his mattress. And of course, they all had a good laugh. What really made Roy Chapman Andrews famous was his expeditions to the Gobi Desert. In 1922, Roy Chapman Andrews departed on his first adventure into the hostile Gobi Desert. He was sent to explore the terrain and acquire indigenous animals that were living in their natural habitat. Also, there was a theory proposed by the museum's director that all life, not just Homo sapiens, derived from Central Asia. So they were looking for something that would also to substantiate the museum director's claim. Roy Chapman Andrews' method of transportation was also very interesting. As you know, it was occupied. Roy Chapman, let's start over again. Roy Chapman Andrews' method of transportation were camels along with Dodge automobiles. That's right, like Dodge trucks, to cross the hazardous terrain of the desert. Now, this is quite the task because we have to remember that back then, there were no, if you can believe it, no AM, FM radios, no CDs, no air conditioning, and also no power steering or power brakes. Among the team was a paleontologist, who used camel hair for his brushes. I wonder where he got that camel hair from. However, Andrews was accustomed to using his own pickaxe. He became known for his barbaric extractions and broke several fossils as a consequence. Andrews' excavation brought back the first intact dinosaur eggs. A total of 25 eggs were brought back to the American Museum of Natural History. Roy actually used one egg for a fundraiser. It was auctioned off for $5,000, or today's equivalent of slightly over $64,000. In 1934, 28 years after being hired on as the museum's janitor, Andrews became the director of the American Museum of Natural History. That should be a lesson to all you kids out there. Work hard and follow your dream. He retired in 1942 and moved to California until his passing in 1960. So, what do you think? Was Roy Chapman Andrews the individual from which the character of Indiana Jones was based? Tell us what you think. Remember, if you like this, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you very much, and everybody have a great day.